Okay, so this is something I really did not expect to happen, but it seems like 2023 has been full of surprises. Apparently, we're getting a live action series reboot of Gargoyles from 1994, and that's something that on one hand people are excited about, but since it's a live action, reboot, a lot of people are uncertain about it. If it was like an animated, reboot of the old Gargoyles series, that would have been cool. But even then, that probably wouldn't be as good as what we got back in in the mid 90s. And Gargoyles is one of those animated series that was highly underrated. People look back at it and feel like it was ahead of its time, and they loved a lot of things about it, including the storytelling, the animation, um, I guess the sense of urgency that the series gave. Um, Gargoyles was a lot darker than your average kids show, but at the same time, it didn't cross any lines, in terms of being profane or offensive or anything like that. Um, a lot of people love the Goliath character. People thought the Demona character was like the perfect villain, along with David Xanatos, and you even had like Macbeth as like one of the villains during one of the seasons. I'd like to say it was either like the second or third season, but like the storytelling, the history and all that stuff were all very intriguing. You got to learn a lot from watching it, and yeah, a lot of people are happy that something's finally being done with this series, but there's a lot of uncertainty as to like how a live action reboot would look. And based on what we know, um the live action reboot is basically going to be worked on by two people. One of them is Gary Doberman, the other one is James Wan, and those two were beyond they were behind like the Annabelle horror series, which started back in 2014, and I believe like the Annabelle series was like from 2014 to like 2019 or 2020. But yeah, I mean, if those guys are working on the reboot, it really has me thinking on how this is going to look in comparison to the animated series. I can only imagine that like the Gargoyles reboot is going to be a lot darker than the animated series, because obviously the animated series was like campy and it was designed not to be too violent or anything like that because it was mainly a kid show. But if this is going to be on Disney Plus, then obviously it's going to be darker, but there's going to be certain lines that I don't think they'll be able to cross. But Gargoyles is not really like a like a horror type of anime or anything like that. But I do feel like those two has what it takes to make it dark enough for people to a be interested in it, b not cross any lines to a point where it's going to offend people or anything like that. And honestly, I'm not exactly sure like when this is going to be released, but we do know that it's going to appear most likely as an exclusive for Disney Plus. And the news is something that has a lot of people like intrigued as to what to expect from this reboot of Gargoyles, because it can go one or two ways. It could be a success, after like its first season, and then it just it stops because no one really is interested in it, or it can probably get three seasons similar to that of the original. But if they're trying to like recreate the original anime, season by season, um, I hope they do so in a way where um, they're able to, I guess, like capture the feeling that older fans of the series had when they first watched the original Gargoyles series. But at the same time, I think the challenge is going to be appealing to casuals for the most part, because there's like a lot of people in this day and age who are not really familiar with the Gargoyles series. They've probably heard about it, but they haven't necessarily watched it because, um, I mean, that came out like I think, yeah, I think Gargoyles came out like 30 years ago when you think about it. It's a very long time. At least next year will be like, we'll mark 30 years because Gargoyles came out back in 1994. So it's pretty cool that something special is being done with the Gargoyles series after like, 29, 30 years. And a lot of people have high hopes for this upcoming reboot for the most part.